This holiday season, show your loved ones how much Black lives matter. Give them the gifts that reveal the real history and culture of living Black. Give them books that inspire, motivate, and inform. Give the gift of the written words from the Living Now Bronze Medal winner, Harold Michael Harvey. Give them the Harold Michael Harvey collection, which includes My C.T. Vivian Story, The Duke of 18th and Vine, Freaknik Lawyer, and Justice in the Round. Order some or the entire collection now to ensure delivery before the holidays at HaroldMichaelHarvey.com.
The next time you drive through Central Georgia, we've got a radio station we think you'll love. We're Magic 100, playing all of the songs you grew up with. You'll find us at 100.1 FM. That's 100.1. On I-75, you can tune us in from the north at Locust Grove and from the south when you get to Perry. 100.1 FM. Classic soul hits. Magic 100.
This is the G Podcast with your host, Tommy B.
Tonight, the entertainment world is mourning the loss of Stephen Boss, known as Twitch in the dance world. The dancer and longtime DJ for the Ellen DeGeneres Show has died. He was just 40 years old.
Just 40 years old. Now, there are several reports out there that says that he took his own life. Known as a charismatic man online and on the Ellen Show, it's proof that we need to check on our family and friends, and even those that we think are strong. Well, Twitch's wife, Allison Holker, releasing a statement saying in part that he was the backbone of the family and an inspiration to his fans. To say that he left a legacy would be an understatement. Twitch leaves behind a wife, Allison, and their 3 children.
Many times when we hear of someone losing their life to suicide, there's an understandable amount of emphasis on the fact that suicide was the cause of death. You know, and there's often, along with that, a lack of understanding the importance of honoring that person's entire life.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and just, you know, with the conversation that we're having now, Vince, you know, like I want our listeners to also know, you know, like you and I are kind of from the old school, you know, where we kind of use the language of quote unquote committed suicide. But what we're really trying to let people understand is that, you know, what we're trying to be mindful is that, you know, we're now using the language, you know, passed away by suicide or died by suicide, because people who don't understand, like when you and I are having the conversation, we understand, you know, committed suicide, died by suicide. We understand it because we've lived through the experience. But for other people, when they hear committed suicide, that word has that heaviness of that person did something to themselves, and that's not what it is. The act of suicide is reactive, and it's not that you're doing something to yourself. You are reacting to pain or sorrow or emptiness or that dark void. You are reacting, and you are trying to end that pain.
Just wanted to kick the show off and really just pay tribute and homage to you know, a situation that happened this week. Just about everybody knows as the report 11 Alive. I want to say thank you to Atlanta's 11 Alive News for that report, as well as Black Mental Matters. That's episode 75. If you want to hear the full episode, which Vince and Makiba do an excellent job, you can check them out.
Yes.
Go to castropolis.net. Episode 75 is talks about their challenges in dealing with suicide, with Vince actually losing his father and his brother to suicide, and Makiba actually being a survivor of an attempt. So it's a really interesting episode, and it gives you a lot of insight into what Twitch might have been dealing with. So, you know, I don't want to make any assumptions. I know you don't either, Tonya B. There's a lot of speculation, and we don't get into that. That's not the way, you know, at this point. We need to honor him. So I'll leave it at that. You were about to say something. Go ahead.
You know what? And I'm about to sneeze too.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. Okay, no, I think, you know, this whole situation, as sad as it is, you know, and as unexpected as it was, it's a teachable moment. Hopefully it'll be a wake-up call, and hopefully, if nothing else, this loss of, you know, a life that wasn't even halfway lived for all intents and purposes will motivate someone who is suffering in silence to, you know, no longer silence the shame and to reach out. And there are so many people say, "Oh, I can't afford it." Free resources out the yin yang now. Biden's got over $27 million in free mental health services, that people, can take advantage of. And the other thing I just want to say is, you know what, you never know what someone's going through. You look at people like that young lady, Chelsea, who was Miss USA. You look at Anthony Bourdain, you look at Robin Williams, and Twitch and some other people. And while, they were very high achievers, they were successful, I don't think they wanted for anything financially, and sometimes there's, even Janet Jackson said at the height of her career, she struggled with severe depression. So you never know what somebody's going through. And, everything is not as it seems, because people look a certain way. He looked like he was happy all the time. And, Janet was happy. She was on top of the world. Robin Williams, all these people, you just never know. So, remember that song from back in the day, Smiling Faces sometimes?
Yeah. In another way, yeah. But you're right.
Think about it. Yeah.
Never know.
They were all, smiling. You never know what someone's going through.
Yeah,
and the other thing is, I would like to say, and this is, I don't know how it is in other cultures, but I would just say this, and this kind of irritates me. And I hope we can, again, when it comes to stopping, silencing the shame, and you can tell me this, Tommy B, a lot of times our men of color who suffer the most sometimes, real men don't cry. You hear big girls don't cry. Suck it up. Be a man. Don't show any emotion. And all it takes, I think, is someone being told that one or two times in their, in their formative years, and it seems to stick with them. And needing, support is not a sign of weakness. Crying is not a sign of weakness.
So true.
And feelings, and I just wish that as a culture, and again, with men of color, two things y'all don't do: you don't seek mental health, and you don't go to the doctor. And I just really hope that people will take. And that might have been Twitch's assignment on this earth, was to wake people up and let them know that I would say it's okay if you're not okay. It's not okay if you don't do something about it. So may he rest in peace. And I know there's so much, a huge outpouring of love and support and just prayers for, his wife. And now we've got 3 children who don't have a dad. And I hope the youngest baby will even have a memory of him.
Yeah, so true, so true. Well, there's when it comes down to men, and again, I would recommend the conversation with Makeba and Vince is very eye-opening, is very realistic. When
yes,
you're talking about a couple of generations where he's talking about his father, and then you talk about his brother, which is another generation, and we're dealing with a lot of things that are occurring within generations. Like Makeba talks about the fact, and I didn't play the whole thing, but definitely. One of the things she mentioned, I started to play, was the fact that Black men coming out of the civil rights movement, going into the 70s, into the 80s, so many opportunities really started to dwindle, especially when we got into the Reagan administration. And, it's not all political. I know I mentioned the name Reagan.
Yeah, but even Vietnam.
Down to it. Yeah, but a combination of things coming out of the civil rights movement that didn't occur for them, that left it, made it a struggle. And, it's either a lot of these men had to become entrepreneurs, and if they didn't have that entrepreneurial spirit, or if they weren't professors or teachers, the middle part of that suffered. And a lot of
bottom fell out.
Yeah, a lot of that suffering, definitely has impact on your psyche. And I'll just say, even today, it's not easy. It ain't easy.
No, it's not. No,
you put Black men in a position where they're either focused on being athletes or focused on, being entertainers. and then, in terms of getting education, it's completely different opportunity. But then you look at, for example, you come out of the music business, and I don't want to go too far into it. We could talk about it when you get into the tea as well. But one of the things, you look at the music business and you look at the number of Black men who lost opportunities as the music industry started to dismantle, the Black music industry. Think about that.
Exactly,
Think about it from that perspective.
Oh, absolutely.
You had a lot of Black men who were executives in the music industry who basically, when they started downsizing, those opportunities went away. And it has a lot to do, has a lot of impact on the psyche. So I'll leave it at that. We'll talk about it when we get into the tea. And again, rest in power, Twitch, and just talking about it, chokes you up. I'll be honest with you, it's not easy.
No, it does. And then you think about the other people who have lost a life by suicide. Not to, bring the room down, but I had a former coworker who was very traumatized, doesn't really know what her brother's issues were.
Yeah.
But this young man hung himself and she found him. So you're talking about generational.
Yeah.
He was in that dark place, but then to this day, and this happened over 20 years ago, she is still traumatized by that. So, you also got, think about those types of things. Yes, law enforcement, they're kind of desensitized and used to seeing that. But even getting a call like that.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah,
but let's we'll get into it, and definitely after the first of the year, we want to have a conversation about it. But this is the G Podcast, episode 158. Just thank you guys. This is our truly the holiday party. I mean, we're wrapping it up for the year. Our last live recording episode.
This is it. This is our swan song for 2022. Is that what you're saying?
2022. I mean, we'll run some promos and some stuff like that, and rerun some recorded episodes, but for the most part, we're getting ready for 2023. I know a lot of you are, getting out of work early. I mean, as we tape, we're, less than a week away, or was it 7 days today, a week away from Christmas.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, I told you where I was earlier, and I'm thinking, okay, there won't be that many people out this time of the day. If they are, they may be at a mall. My GPS said 12 minutes, and that was not true.
Yeah.
It was almost like I was driving home. Tommy B was almost like I was driving home at 5:00 on a Wednesday.
Look, people might sing that song, that sad song. They out here spending money, y'all. Y'all out here spending money.
Right.
Don't be like,
they're gonna deal later. Yeah.
People are out and about. I mean, the malls are packed. People still out shopping online, yes, but they're still out there. And that's cool. I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see us get back in the swing of things, and hopefully it can continue into winter. But, again, this is the G Podcast. I'm your host, Tommy B. You're listening to Tonya B. Again, our final show of the year as far as our tapings, but definitely go into our archives and check out some of the older shows. This week we're going to be talking again, a lot of good stuff. Syracuse Mike, justice for George Floyd. Again, another officer is received added time. Also, Kamala Harris in L.A. swearing in the L.A. Mayor-elect Karen Bass. Brittney Griner is home, and even though in the report that Mike mentions, because it was happened after the deadline, Griner is talking about playing in 2023. She's actually committed to play in 2023.
And I hear and
just don't go back to Russia, girl.
I think that, again, teachable moment. Nobody go to a foreign country. You see, even people now. Tourists are over in some part of Peru, and they're stuck over there, and they're blowing up the spot like it's the Ukraine. It's crazy.
Well, you got to understand the dynamics. I mean, any country we're at war with, or we have diplomatic issues with, you got to think about whether or not you really need to be there.
Don't go there.
I mean, you can go, but you can go to Jamaica. Vi.
Well, like I said, you know what?
Well, Vi is in Jamaica, y'all. So Vi is, which is good.
What's happening? You know what's happening in Jamaica, though, right?
What's happening in Jamaica?
He is over there in Jamaica during the birthday celebration that Cardi B is throwing for her husband Offset. So I'm sure, if nothing else, there's a whole lot of weed. Don't go to Kingston. That's all I got. Don't go to Kingston. Yeah, so I might have some late nights.
So if I get invited by him and Cardi B and the folks hanging out,
offsetting them.
Yeah.
I don't think Vi knew what he was walking into, but I hope he's having a good time, and I hope he's safe.
Yeah, I do too. Also, the Respect for Marriage Act was signed, and of course, you got the tea coming up. But again, we do news, politics, pop culture, the piping hot tea from the one and only. Y'all give it up for Tonya B in the building. Tonya B.
I am here.
Tonya B, so again, Friday, Saturday nights, Byrdwire, 8 p.m., 10 p.m. It's going to change up a little bit going into the holiday. You're doing the 4-hour Christmas special, which we're going to run as a marathon beginning. And I'm looking at, we're going to start it on the 23rd.
24th. Oh, 23rd.
Yeah, that Friday is the 23rd.
Okay, yes.
So just kick it off Friday, 4 p.m. and just run, through Christmas Day. So 4
I
hour
got some
blocks.
special stuff.
Yeah, so you ain't gonna put no temps? Come on now, Tonya B.
By popular demand, I won't say where, but I know, I have another block. I have, the R&B Christmas jukebox, the Byrdwire R&B, and then I have the ladies first special, which will be all the ladies. So, it's going to be a lot. It's going to give you some of those classics. And I went and found some new Christmas music and some kind of unsung Christmas music by some really, Anthony Hamilton, Fantasia, Kelly Rowland, Kelly Price, Eric Benet, Faith Evans, and I'm going to give you, the Isley Brothers. I'm going to give you some Will Downing. I'm going to give you some Shaka Khan Christmas music, which people don't play a lot of, and even Gladys Knight. So it's going to be interesting. And then after that, we're going to go into the top 22 of 2022. That's going to be very interesting as well. Those are those songs that were in the top 10 for a series of weeks, and those songs that were number one. We have some songs that were number one for like 2 and 3 months. So it's going to be interesting. And I've actually reached out to the artists that are in the top 22, and they're going to be contributing as well. So it's going to be good times. Good times.
Good stuff. Give it up for you one more time. Good stuff.
Yeah.
And Vi's not here, man. I wish Vi was here today because.
Why? The Falcons won?
Well, you know what? I will say this. Let me say this. They lost to and we don't want to lose to the Saints at any year, but to lose to them twice in a year is tough. And for y'all New Orleans people, I'm not going to say
is that
more.
Aaron Rodgers?
No. They don't know who the quarterback permanently. Andy Dalton is the quarterback.
No,
now.
you know who the quarterback is? The quarterback
is
Winston.
Well,
Millennial Mike. What's your son's name? Millennial Nick. Nick's the quarterback.
No.
Nick's the quarterback.
Now, for the Falcons, I will say this, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on Desmond Ridder, but I will say this to y'all Atlanta Falcons fans: quit being so hard on this kid. He's a rookie. This was his first start today. You got to start somewhere. Honestly, It's a better opportunity for us to find out what he's all about, what the team has versus Marcus Mariota. I'm not going to even go into that story. Vi could have gone into that story. I'm not. But I will say, honestly, they only lost by 3 points of the, field goal, unfortunate fumble by, the first round draft pick, but that's the way it goes. The other thing is real quick on sports, Matt Ryan. Which, of course, about Matt, used to be with the Falcons, lost in the Super Bowl, gave us all a need for therapy after that loss to the Patriots. Well, he lost again. Of course, that was I think the largest Super Bowl comeback in NFL history with Brady and the Falcons. Well, as we tape today, he plays for Indianapolis, and they lost to Minneapolis. And it was the largest NFL history comeback by the Vikings. So,
that one, the 33 to nothing. That you talking about that one or another one?
They were down. Indy was down 33-0. Okay. No, I'm sorry. Indy was up on Minnesota 33-0. Right.
Right.
So Minnesota going into halftime. Both quarterbacks, Cousins. I'm not going to go into Cousins and Ryan are both kind of they're on the end of their careers. But back end of their careers. But bottom line is to lose and you were up 33-0 at halftime is just demoralizing. So 39-36, Matt loses. Of course, if you're in Minneapolis, we may have some listeners out there in Minneapolis. My Indy folks, sorry about that. Y'all going to have to do something next year. That's all I got to say. But if Vi was here, he would definitely be stomping on Matt's, misfortune.
I didn't know they let Matt back. I know they had set him down for a while. I didn't know he was back.
Yeah, they set him down. Interim coach came in and stood him back up because they fired the other coach. But that's another story. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and do news with Syracuse Mike, and we do need to come back and talk about some of this stuff on the other end. So here we go.
Okay.
News team, assemble!
It's time for the Week in News with Syracuse Mike.
The former Minneapolis police officer who kneeled on George Floyd's back while Derek Chauvin kneeled on Floyd's neck was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison. This past October, J. Alexander King pleaded guilty to a state count of aiding and abetting second-degree manslaughter. A murder charge was dropped in exchange for that plea. King is already serving a federal sentence for violating Floyd's civil rights. Vice President Kamala Harris was in L.A. to preside over the swearing in of the city's first black woman to serve as mayor. Her name, Karen Bass, and she has a list of issues to deal with.
A pandemic, a rapidly changing economy, a rapidly changing climate, the cost of living, and in Los Angeles, 40,000 people sleeping on the street every day.
And so how is Brittney Griner adjusting? According to various reports, she has made it to the basketball court, this time at the Brooke Army Medical Center, where she's under routine evaluation. Her first move on court was a dunk. No word on if or when she will return to professional play.
Today, America takes a vital step toward equality.
Tuesday, President Biden signed the Respect for Marriage Act, which means all states must recognize same-sex and interracial marriages conducted in other states. Thousands were in attendance on the South Lawn of the White House for the ceremony, including a number of celebrities like Cyndi Lauper.
We can rest easy tonight because our families are validated.
The bipartisan law will protect same-sex marriages if the Supreme Court were to overturn the landmark 2015 decision which legalized them in the U.S. The new law also protects religious organizations who refuse to offer services for gay weddings. Inflation is slowing down. The Consumer Price Index rose just 0.1% in November from the previous month compared to an anticipated 0.3%. President Biden says this shows his economic plans are working.
In fact, this new report is the fifth month in a row where annual inflation has fallen in the United States.
The president admits prices are still too high. Special Counsel Jack Smith has subpoenaed state and local election officials in Georgia, Nevada, New Mexico, and Pennsylvania as part of the Justice Department's broad investigation into efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger was issued a subpoena late last week. He no doubt will be asked again about that call from then-President Trump to find 11,780 votes. As expected, the Fed raised interest rates again Wednesday, but not as aggressively as recent increases. They pushed up the key short-term interest rate by 0.5 percentage point. Fed Chair Jerome Powell.
We continue to anticipate that ongoing increases will be appropriate in order to attain a stance of monetary policy that is sufficiently restrictive to return inflation to 2% over time.
The central bank indicated another 0.75 point increase can be expected next year. That means interest rates for credit cards, new mortgages, and auto loans for all of us will go up. With an anticipated spike in COVID cases this winter, the U.S. government is again providing free test kits. White House COVID response coordinator, Dr. Ashish Jha.
Each U.S. household can order up to 4 at-home tests free from covidtest.gov, with tests starting to ship as early as next week, the week of December 19th.
Again, get your test kits at covidtest.gov. You may remember the case of Ronald Green, a black man who died in 2019. Now 5 Louisiana law enforcement officers have been charged with state crimes, including negligent homicide and malfeasance. At first, authorities blamed Green's death on a car crash before body cam video released 2 years later showed white officers beating him, using a stun gun, and dragging him. You can also hear Green saying, "I'm scared." Green's family has filed a wrongful death civil lawsuit against the troopers involved.
Hey, one other story, too, I want to mention that came in after the deadline related to that. I didn't have her last name, and I want to make sure I mention this, that Tatiana out in Dallas, Fort Worth, Jefferson, thank you. Yeah. Her, the murderer, basically, the person who, we talked about this story. You were on the podcast.
And nothing happened for a long time.
Back in 2019. And finally, the officer who shot into the freaking window and killed her has been found guilty. So it took that long to get him on trial. He had already been fired, but finally, he went through trial and been found guilty. So I have to really give kudos, and just give props to Dallas Fort Worth. Happened in Tarrant County. I think it was in Fort Worth, but definitely that community hung in there. And her family hung in there, and finally she's got justice. So Tatiana Jefferson and her family, rest in power, and I'm glad to see justice. And I hope it doesn't end there. You know, I hope civil rights charges are brought up as well. Yeah, absolutely. You know,
absolutely.
I mean, you know, and it was just, I mean, when you and I talked about it back in 2019, we're like, what the hell? The girl was in her room playing video games, which was just...
But who shoots through the window? Yes. Through the window, really? You know, and that's just like, I don't know, you know, and you know, I think people should be held accountable. There should be consequences because they have committed a crime. I don't care if they have a badge or whatever. And you saw that earlier this week, it was announced that Breonna Taylor's boyfriend was awarded $2 million. And I said, that's all well and good. But, you know, money can be good, but then that trauma is lifelong. And it has so many ripple effects. And, you know, again, here's a young man that was traumatized who I hope he has sought out mental health because I'm sure he needs it. I mean, who wants to go through something like that?
That's just crazy. But I do again have to say to the Dallas-Fort Worth community, the family of Miss Jefferson, definitely, you know, you were diligent and it paid off. And I'm glad to see that.
You can't,
I mean, it may not be the final justice, but at least there's some justice in the beginning of justice.
Accountability, Tommy B. I think accountability, you know, that's in all these cases, whether it's George Floyd or Tatiana Jefferson, Breonna Taylor, you know, just there's so many of these things that happen every day.
Yeah,
and I think we've become desensitized to it. And then when the next one happens, we forget about the last one and just keep it moving.
Yeah.
But, you know, I applaud our family as well. It's like, you can't give up.
Don't give up.
Give up.
There you go. Also, congrats to LA Mayor-elect Karen Bass. Man, she's got some work. Who wants that job?
You know what? Remember that song? Wait, you remember that song by the Ozzy Brothers? I got work to do. I got work to do. She got work. No, she doesn't have work. She got WERK. Okay, she got work to do.
I am just like, you want to be what? Okay, but
God bless. I know the job nobody wants.
Congresswoman. You know, and you know, head of you know, the Congressional Black Caucus, and well, you know, I mean, it's I guess, you know, she wants to do what's right, but you know, situation in LA with 40,000 people sleeping on the street daily.
There are so many.
It's amazing. The homeless situation alone, they haven't figured out yet.
Exactly. After all this time.
Yeah.
After all this time.
So,
you know,
it's going to be a daily grind for her. There's no rest for Miss Bass, for Mayor Bass.
You know what's going to happen? You remember when the president, like when Bill Clinton went into office and Obama went into office, they had, you know, black hair. When Karen Bass finishes, and we're not even going to talk about hair dye, I guarantee you she's going to have salt and pepper hair. When
cream of nature?
Grecian. No, there will be no Grecian up in here.
No. What is it? Is it cream of nature?
Cream of nature was a permanent cream relax that people now, you know, have filed suit for saying they got cancer. But she might need a full. Either her hair is going to fall out or she's going to need.
Like,
God bless her. God bless her.
Mayor in Chicago. But good luck. I wish her the best. LA is no joke.
It's no joke.
I Respect for Marriage Act again. Congratulations to all the communities that this impacts positively. And the crazy thing for me is that they had to pair this up with the interracial. That's just insane.
I know, but you know, there were the lovings in the 60s.
Who knew it was consider going after the loving?
But you know what? Those old laws are on the books, and there are many places where it is legal. Even Trevor Noah, I know it was South Africa is over there.
Yeah,
but you know, he talked about, you know, because he's the product of an interracial marriage. He's like, I was illegal, and you know, his parents could have been killed for, you know, his birth.
By the way, shout out to our South African listeners who check us out every week.
Yeah, I know. Shout out to you. But I'm just saying, you know, thank God that, you know, he didn't, because I think, you know, Trevor Noah has made some contributions to the culture now, you know, and I love the fact that he thanks all the strong Black women that had a lot to do with his upbringing and making him the man that he is today.
I got in trouble. I asked, well, is he married to one? And somebody got mad at me.
Trevor Noah, he just Dua Lipa just dumped him for Jack Harlow. So, you know, Trevor kind of seems to go. I think at one point he was was it Minka Kelly? I don't want to get no more trouble. Okay, let's just say this. Shout out to Trevor Noah. You know, he's going on a comedy. No, he's going on a comedy tour. Even in Atlanta, it's sold out. He's had to add dates. So, you know, if nothing else, in these times that are just so I don't know, strenuous. And thank you, Trevor Noah, for making us laugh. That's all I want to say.
That's what I'm saying. And you know, I think Vi and I got on him about the Grammys, but, you know, I just didn't think the Grammys was the right. I think him doing stand-up, doing his own thing, I just don't see the Grammys. Grammys going to have to go in a totally different direction. I'm going to leave it at that.
How about no direction? Because nobody cares anymore.
Nobody
Next
cares.
subject.
And one more thing on the news tip I do want to talk about, y'all, and especially my folks in Georgia. You might see that $2.70 gas right now is looking real good. On my end of town, it's looking great. But y'all need to understand that gas tax is not in effect yet, and it's going back into effect after the first of the year.
I think it's January 10th.
Yeah, so add 30 cents to that after the first
fill
of the
up
year.
your tank.
If you can get
now,
that's what I'm saying. If you could get some reserves,
I'm saying, let's play this as
underground tank in the backyard.
I'm just peanutting them. I'm just saying, get it now, because I've seen regular gas under $3 a gallon, and it hasn't been that way for a while. I don't know about the mid-grade or the diesel or the whatever else.
Oh, you know me. I'm out here where the Herschel signs are still up. Okay, so
you know what?
I'm out here where the Herschel signs are still up, and it's $2.70. So you know what I'm talking about.
This is the same man that said he wanted a concession of 2 hot dogs and a large soda. Okay,
but the Herschel and Kemp signs are still up in some yards, so you know where I am out here. I'm just
sorry.
Hey, you know what? I'm just trying to turn it around. I'm trying to change
sorry
the culture.
For you.
I'm gonna change the culture.
There's a tear in my eye for you right now.
Like what's her name? Kiki said, I don't know that. I do not know that man. That man. I feel for that man. Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and do it. Here we go.
Now then, children, it's time for tea.
It's tea time, y'all.
Yeah.
Sippin' the tea with Tonya B.
Tonya B, what you got?
Ooh, we were talking about, we want to make people laugh and entertain you, uplift you, educate you. We talked about Twitch earlier in the show.
I want to change the culture. But go ahead.
Okay, let's change the culture. Okay, I got to say 500 to this young man. I had not heard of him until a couple of days ago because, I'm sports illiterate. But his name is Tyrell Terry. He got drafted 2 years ago at the age of 20 by the Dallas Mavericks. He is walking away from basketball for 2 reasons. He said, number one, I no longer am in love with this game, but he said, I'm also leaving to protect my mental health. So I don't think he finished school if he, went in at 20, but I just want to applaud him for putting his mental health ahead of fame and money.
Good for him. And I do applaud him for
Tyrell Terry.
Taking that step. Yeah, I was telling you, he's not a well-known name, a big name.
I mean, he's new.
Yeah, to make that step as a young man in the game makes a lot. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to do it.
Yeah, and I hope that he has the support services and gets more of the support services that he needs to,
Yeah, so true.
Because you don't want to hear about him being someone who, has taken their life for, a reason that could have been prevented. Yeah. Okay, now you talked about Karen Bass being sworn in as mayor, and it's interesting that this is happening. Is she getting sworn in like this weekend?
Yeah, she has. I mean, it was last weekend, but still into the week.
Yeah, okay. Well, here's what's happening out in LA now. For the first time that I know of, the Beehive is mad at their queen, Beyonce. She's throwing a Club Renaissance event in LA this weekend. It was last night, it's tonight. And she's doing it not with Tidal, but with Amazon Music. And it's to celebrate 6 months of the album. I didn't know her album had been out 6 months, but I guess it has. But here's the thing. The invites were sent out via text message. They call it their Renaissance, and they call it spatial audio, which probably means you just go there, listen to it, and dance. But again, it was last night and tonight. And the people want to know, is Beyonce going? That's the $1 million question. And I think I said her fans did receive text messages on Thursday telling them about this, event. And tickets were gone in minutes. Do you have to, if you got through to a certain point, you had to agree to a consent and disclosure if you were going to get tickets. And of course, it said, there's a possibility if you come to this event, you might get COVID and we're not responsible. And Beyonce did this in Paris, but she had done it with Tiffany and Company. And she went to that one, of course. And what's interesting is like the website froze and, people that in the Beehive were making comments like, it had to validate my ID. I refreshed it and the effing thing was sold out. Count your damn days, Beyonce, Giselle Knowles Carter. I didn't say that. I'm quoting someone. Another one said, wow. I'm waiting for Beyonce to come pick me up in Georgia since she texted me about a damn Club Renaissance event in LA. So. But
if it's something to do with spatial, I mean, that's like a quality. It's just like Apple has this. I forgot the name of it. It's almost.
It's like listening in IMAX.
Yeah. That's what it. I mean, and basically it drives people to subscribe to either Amazon and Apple offers their version of it. Right. Apple Music, whatever.
But here's the gag.
Yeah.
Why would I spend money to go listen to it when I could, not take a day off of my third job? I'm going to have to work to buy a ticket to go see her on tour. And speaking of her tour, do you know she's not playing? She is providing mental health services for everybody on that tour. Good. No drugs, no alcohol, and you must undergo a complete, up to and including a criminal background check to get a gig. She is not playing with you people.
Damn, she's trying to make people work a job.
Hello? But look, she comes from the school of work now. If she work, everybody else got to work, okay? She's UPS doing the heavy lift. She's doing the heavy lifting. You got to do your part, and this might not be the gig for you. Now, I talked last year actually about this movie I was really excited about called Spinning Gold. It's been 10 years in the making. It's the story of the independent label Casablanca Records. Remember that?
I do, but I got a question when you finish the story.
Okay, so the movie's finally coming out in March 31st of 2023, but I mean, it's interesting because now Lettucey's going to play Gladys Knight, trying to get the young people. Wiz Khalifa is going to play George Clinton. Okay. Mm-hmm. Jason Derulo was going to play Ron Isley. And the label had, they had a lot of black artists like the Isley Brothers. They had P-Funk. They had Gladys Knight and the Pips. Donna Summer, remember? And of course,
Donna Summer was like the biggest artist on Casablanca, along with that was the label I remember, P-Funk.
Of course you remember Parliament. The YMCA, the short-lived disco band, the Village People. And rounding out the
Village
cast.
People,
initially, I was hearing that Kelly Rowland was going to play Gladys Knight, but Kelly's doing her thing. Johnny Gill is going to play Clarence Burke Jr. He's the leader of the 5 Stair Steps. Remember them? Ooh Child, and back in the day.
Yeah, okay.
Even Ooh Child. Okay, no, Johnny Gill.
I know it big. I'm just thinking about this movie now. Go ahead.
Okay, interesting. Okay, now Chris Redd, fresh off getting punched in the face at SNL, he's going to play legendary New York DJ Frankie Crocker. Now, so you got to be OG if you know about Frankie Crocker. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, and here's the kicker: Jay Farrow, who was hilarious, also formerly of SNL, he's portraying a legendary record executive by the name of Cecil Holmes. Now, you got to be an OG to know him because he was a friend of my dad's. But he's being played by Jay Farrow. But what's interesting about Cecil Holmes is, he's really one of those unsung. He even brought back Kelly Price to the fold before, during, and after the weight loss. But he married at a very young age. He married Stacey Dash's mama. So he's the man that raised her and all of her crazy. I don't know if I'd want to be known for being Stacey Dash's daddy, but that's who he is.
It is what it is.
So it's very interesting that the Neil Bogart's son Tom is the one that's doing the screenplay, and it's been 10 years in the making. So it'll be interesting to see. I heard they've gotten. They said Donna Summer was going to be played by Kelly Rowland. It's an unknown actress I don't know about, but it should be interesting. It's probably going to go straight to video. Well, but anyway,
I see it as maybe something Netflix, on one of the streaming services. But it, for me, and when you mentioned it to me, the first thought was, who's the market? And the other thing is, I don't see this as a big movie. It's going to be very independent, very low key.
It's going to be a niche. And remember, that's the way the world.
Yeah.
Remember, that's the way the world. But
yeah. And with Harvey Keitel.
Harvey
Keitel
and
was the band.
Yeah. And that is.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the really lesser known movies that had a very popular soundtrack.
Oh yeah, I mean the soundtrack was bigger than the movie by far.
Yeah. I was like, who was in that movie?
The only one I remember is Harvey. It was Harvey Keitel who played gangsters in Police. But that was the guy. I mean, it was his, I think, first movie, his first starring role. But the stars of the movie were Earth, Wind, and Fire to black people. We didn't go see it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was the
It wasn't that back then you had to go to a movie theater. That was not one that was in wide release. It was like one of those art house films,
Yeah. But that album, again, I don't have to say anything about that album. Ooh.
It's classic. It's legendary.
Ooh. Yeah. What else you got?
And at that time when it came out, I was a goober, but I didn't even know there was a movie. So anyway, one thing I had to say, I got a couple of things that are not a G. If you don't know how you do a G or, not a G.
Go for it.
Not a G is Diddy acting like this baby was a surprise. He knew the girl was pregnant. It wasn't her first time being pregnant. The baby was born in October. He won a DNA test. You are the father. But here's the thing, he's been out there. I think he's really trying to stay relevant, trying to be all up in the tea with all these different girls. And my thing is, this new baby mama is getting paid $300,000 a month to lay low and stay off social media. So she getting her bag. It is what it is.
It's like an athlete. Women getting a lick, like.
Oh wait! Tristan Thompson. Tristan Thompson and his Tootsie Roll himself was only paying that girl $9,500 a month. But anyway, he wants to make sure she is quiet. But whatever the case may be. Also, not a G. Lifetime milking this R. Kelly thing. R. Kelly, the final chapter. It comes on in January. I don't think anybody cares what Adriel Clary has to say. What the other people have to say. The victim impact statements, and but he knew he was going to jail because he froze his sperm, and his last concubine, Joycelyn Savage, gave birth to a baby girl that would scare me, especially with having R. Kelly for a daddy. She gave birth 10 days ago, and I hope she has enough money to take care of her and that baby. Also, I'm hearing that Ciara and Russell Wilson may be expecting baby number 4, so we'll see what happens with that. Janet's going back on tour. A lot. Look, people gonna have to get 3 jobs. You got Boyz II Men going out. You got Janet, you got New Edition, and Keith Sweat and the original members of God.
they may need to stay in Vegas, but that's another story.
They go out and do weekend. I'm sure they can't. They ain't headlining, but anyway, Anita Baker and Babyface are going out. You've got Beyonce, you got Rihanna, so you got to get 2-3 jobs. But lastly, I just want to talk about one thing. Not a G is Tory Lanez. I'm so sick of this Meg Thee Stallion thing. I know it's a trial, and I'm just waiting to see how long before Lifetime try to make that a movie, since they want to get on the clout chasing train. You got people taking the fifth, people disappearing, the lies, the amnesia, and all this mess. I'm like, my goodness, enough already. And even Meg says, she's like, I wish, she's like, I'd rather be dead than go through this.
But the interesting thing, and I don't know, you had some more?
No, go ahead. What wouldn't it say?
No, I mean, I was reading Rolling Stone, and they were talking about the fact that Friday, because again, we tape on Sunday, so this Friday, they were basically playing for the jurors the actual recorded interview from Kelsey Harris, the interview she gave to the prosecutors back in September. And see, Harris is now saying it never happened, but back in September she told prosecutors that she recalled Tory Lanez firing five times.
Yeah, she got amnesia, and allegedly she was also...
It ain't amnesia if it's on tape.
Exactly. Well, see, that's what you young people don't understand. And it's not, and somebody giving you $1 million for you to get amnesia, that's not a case to make. So that's perjury. Is that not perjury? But that could be perjury.
Okay, so what they did, they're playing this recording for the jury. And it was like a bombshell because she had been denying it all this week. And I guess she thought they weren't going to play the tape. So they wound up playing the tape. And this is and people have to also understand, Tonya B, Megan is not on trial. She ain't on trial. Tory Lanez is on trial.
Tory is, yeah.
So this is going to be real interesting. And basically, her tape with her voice is corroborating the fact that he did the shit.
That it happened, right? That it happened, exactly.
So it's just like mind blowing that she would deny it. So
she has the most severe form of amnesia that's called magnesia, and she's looking really stupid right now. How do you can't say I didn't say. You know what? We have the receipts. So,
but they were also passing out the transcript. In addition to, they passed out the transcript and played the audio.
Oh, wait, but did you know, allegedly, the transcript is now out there in a variety of different languages. So someone has gotten a hold of this transcript, and it's in Spanish, it's in Korean, it's in Yiddish, it's in, French.
That court reporter made a mint.
Oh, yes, God. We're not saying that. allegedly, we'll say allegedly. And I just hope when all this is over, can we just deport Tory Lanez and send his 5 foot -2 self back to Canada?
I just want to say one thing before I get into what's watching. And, and I'll just say this. You shoot somebody, you go to jail. I mean, and that's why, in my opinion, when it comes down to this culture, shooting, you don't shoot people and call it a beef and try to get away with it. You shot somebody.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You shot somebody. Whether you were drunk, inebriated, nobody cares about Meg's sex life. They don't care about that. They care with the fact that you shot somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly.
Go to jail.
And I don't care if it was in the foot, the toe, or the ass. You shot
go to jail.
her.
You shot her.
Right.
So
he going to jail.
He's going. He's going.
Oh yeah, and he should.
Yeah. Well, appreciate it, Tonya B. And, we'll go ahead and do this.
What you watching this week, Tommy B?
And you know what? This is kind of the year-end thing. And I do have to shout out the shows like The Chi on Showtime, Atlanta, and split into the last couple of seasons, European season, and also the final season where they came back to Atlanta. Of course, Abbott Elementary season 2. And you know what? Our show really hasn't talked about it as much. It's a big Millennial Nick show. By the way, happy birthday, Millennial Nick. And the show producer. He's a huge fan of Queen Sugar. And Queen Sugar ended this year. So kudos to Queen Sugar for just a phenomenal run and quality television. So go ahead.
Ava DuVernay, correct?
Yep.
But you know what's funny? Now he's millennial. He's into Queen Sugar. I know people, and it was one of those shows that went from here. Now he's over here, millennial. Yeah. I know people that are almost 70 years old that swear by it. It's like, don't call me, don't ring my phone. So it wasn't just. It was like the characters. It was multi-generational.
Mm-hmm. And you had like Ann Nesby. Yeah. Ann Nesby's on the show.
Yeah,
So you got that, those generations, all the way, to Ann Nesby to some of the younger stars. P-Valley. I mean, P-Valley was a big year for P-Valley, regardless of how you feel about it on Stars. It was a big year for him. Some of the newer shows, you got The Wonder Years, which I found out The Wonder Years, even though it launched in 2021, it went through 2022, and it kind of ended, went on hiatus, and it is coming back summer 2023, and it's going to have a full season. I don't know. It's weird to even come back in summer, but the word is it's coming back summer 2023 next year. Kindred, I streamed season 1, not with a whole lot of happiness. It is not a happy show. I really wish I'd read the book before I streamed it because, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But I'll just say, again, if I had gone back into slavery, I'd have had my hand on a tank, some AK-47s. It's just,
but you know what, Tommy,
it just doesn't make. And you know what? I found out from somebody who read the book why watching it is weird. Okay, so with that said, I'll just say, even though I'm going to mention it as one of the ones for 2022, it wasn't one of my favorites for 2022. Another one, and I'll get to your question in just a minute. Surface on Apple, Google and Bother Raw. We talked about that on the show as well. Yeah. Apparently they've been given a green light. That show's coming back next year for another season, and that is Reese Witherspoon's company. That's going to be coming. It was sloppy. It got sloppy toward the end. Started off great. So we'll see how it wraps up. Also, The Sandman, which the surprise for me on Netflix was how many Black storylines and Black people were in Sandman. Not even though it was a big show for Netflix. I didn't watch the Star Wars stuff, nor did I really get into the Game of Thrones Dragons movie. I didn't get into that, but I know that was big as well. Month of December, though, it was refreshing. I will tell you. One of the shows I've been watching, Tonya B, I think I sent it to you and Vi, is Riches on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
About the UK family.
Yes.
And the great thing about it is it deals with cosmetics. So you're dealing with a family in the cosmetics business, which is, of course, big with Black people, no matter where you are, UK, Africa, America. It is well written. The cast is excellent, beautifully shot. The lead actress, I don't know if you remember me talking about a show called Them on Amazon. It was traumatic because this actress, it was so traumatic. She had to get therapy after she finished.
I remember that, yes.
It's about the family who the HOA was going crazy on them. She is the lead in this. Also, if you know the show Ted Lasso, which a lot of our audience may watch Ted Lasso, the black therapist from Ted Lasso's in this. And it is kind of like, it's that how you like it messy kind of show. But I will tell you, it's got the messiness, but it's also got some deep messages and some great undertones. And I found out it's actually directed and created by one of the showrunners from How to Get Away with Murder. So she's connected to that whole Shondaland. And she's also going to be doing some more work for Shondaland. So, impressive. Just really, it is. I mean, I will tell you, and even though it premiered in America December 2nd, it's not going to premiere in the UK until December 22nd. So
why is that?
I don't know. It came out, Amazon, the US got it first. And it makes sense. It makes sense. They want to put it, you want to try it out, put it in America. It's going to do really well in the UK because it's a UK-based show, even though the lead character is apparently moved away from the UK at a young age and grew up in New York and came back to run the company. I don't want to give too much of it away, but I'm telling you, only 6 episodes in the first season. It was a surprise. I'm up late at night. I'm like, damn, I've been seeing, you know how you go through Amazon and
You're like, can I find something to watch?
You know what I'm saying? I don't want to watch. I'm no more Kindred. I'm done. I need something to kind of get me off, shake it off, shake some slavery off me, and I watched it. It was great. So I would definitely, it is. You ever heard of Succession, the show? A lot of people talk about that.
Absolutely, yes. It's won a lot of awards as well.
People are referring to it as the Black Succession, which is interesting. But I can't say enough about it. I can't wait till season 2. It's just like when I saw Harlem. If you remember Harlem, which is
I binged watching it. What season 2? Where's season 2?
It's coming back in February.
Season 2?
Yeah, Harlem's coming back in February.
That's good.
And so we've got this show, and then of course on December 22nd, Amazon Prime, Best Man Final Chapter is coming out. Only 8 episodes in that, so you can binge that quickly. December 22nd. I can't wait for that. That's a limited series. And so, it's really, there's really a lot this year and even going into next year. And I'll mention something when I do G and Not a G, and we'll come back and talk about it real quick. But there is so much content. There's never, I'm going to say never enough. There's always enough TV right now in these days. This is really the golden age because you got so much on streaming. It's amazing. It's amazing. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and do this for y'all. This is gonna be the final one of 2022, but here we go. And now it's time for
A G or Not a G.
I'm in the holiday spirit, so let's make this week's A G or Not a G just a little bit more festive. I know how y'all like to hate on Tyler Perry, so I'm giving him a G this week for announcing that his next movie on Netflix is The 6888, which follows the 6,888 Battalion, the only all-black female troop of World War II. Y'all, it's a war movie. Please don't hate on Tyler's hair and wig game. Angela Bassett gets 2 Gs. First for being awarded Variety's Creative Impact and Acting Award, and second for being nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actor in Black Panther 2. Congratulations, Nicole Hannah-Jones. Her Pulitzer Prize-winning 1619 project is coming to Hulu January 26th as part of Disney's Onyx Collective. It's a 6-part series. The episodes are democracy, race, music, capitalism, fear, and justice. We can't wait to see it. Ron DeSantis can't wait to call for parents to delete the Hulu app.
Or not a G.
And now, folks who deserve coals in their stockings this Christmas. Trump and his minions for teasing a special announcement and it turning out to be an infomercial for his $99 Trump digital cards. I guess if you buy 10, you get a top secret document free. The Golden Globe for not nominating Gina Bythewood Prince, director of The Woman King. Also, the Golden Globe did not nominate any female directors for Best Pictures directed by women. Phew. And for the networks who decided to give us slave movies and series this holiday season, not a G. We already saw Roots, The Gift, back in 1988. And that's it for this week. Y'all have a great Christmas and a Happy New Year.
A G or not a G?
Yeah. Had to do it. And you know, you got any final thoughts before we get up on
the one person I know, we talked about this, so I feel was a Gina. I'm trying to get her name, but the African-American woman who was the first president of Harvard University.
Yes. Congratulations to her. Yes. That is just huge news, as a matter of fact.
You know, and let's call a thing a thing.
You know, Harvard, that situation, you know, it's kind of like, you know, that movie, and again, you know, because I watch a lot of TV, Master on Amazon.
I haven't watched it yet.
But you know which one I'm talking about, where she takes over, becomes the headmaster at this school, this prestigious school, like an Ivy League school. I can imagine her going through some shit like that.
Well, you know, and I always will say this, you know, that area, Boston, Cambridge, is great for education, but even now, some 200 and however many years later, the fact still remains that is still one of the most racist cities in America. It doesn't matter that it's in the north. And I'm from there.
I can look at the online comments. I can look at Twitter and say, oh boy.
Ooh, here they go. Keyboard gangsters. The keyboard gangsters, man.
I say, here they go. What else you got? You got anything else?
I just, for me, just not a G was that woman. And I think she should be thrown under the jail. And I think her kids should be taken away from her permanently. The woman who trolled and bullied her own daughter online using a pseudonym for over a year. I'm like, are you kidding me? Now, you know good and hell well, if that lady was black, she'd already be in jail.
Yeah, so true.
Come on.
But you know, I had to say, and you and I were talking about this before the show started. You know, because I'm watching football, watching NFL today, and you know, I can't play the clip, of course, because NFL's all over your ass if you play anything related to their game.
Well, just paraphrase it.
But I will say, okay, so Pam Oliver is doing a post-game interview with Jalen Hurts. Okay, Jalen Hurts. You know, they've only lost one game. Philadelphia Eagles, go Eagles, you know.
Black quarterback.
So, you know, she's rapped. I'm a fan. I love Pam. Pam's 61. She's been around a long time doing this. So she's talking to him and she's giving, you know, doing the last couple of questions, the wrap-up questions, kind of like a what's next for Jalen Hurts kind of question. And he says, well, I'm going to go get on this plane and kick back and listen to my Anita Baker. And the look on Pam's
on her face
was like golden. So I'm like, she says, boy, what you know about some Anita Baker? She went old school. She went Stella.
Hey.
She went Stella got your groove back kind of.
Hey. He probably was conceived on Anita Baker music. And this was, I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to just give this one her dap. Yeah. The young lady who was the first black president of Harvard and the second woman, her name is Claudine Gay. Shout out to Claudine Gay. Claudine Gay all day. Okay.
Just hanging. All I got to do is I'm, you know, hanging there. How they say it? I'm praying for
Claudine. Claudine, you know that song? Claudine got to hold on now. Come on now. Yeah, Claudine got to hold on.
I hear you. But what was the song? Gladys Knight, Holding On?
Yeah. That from the movie Claudine. Yeah.
Claudine.
Right. Yeah.
Hold on.
That was it.
Holding on.
Classic film Claudine. Yes,
holding
ma'am.
On. But I got to say, that was the funniest. Honestly, after seeing the Falcons lose and watching just a rough, for me, NFL, you know, because I'm getting my ass kicked every week in fantasy football. So it's like I picked the wrong hurt players at the beginning of the season. I didn't make the changes. So I'm looking at my fantasy football and all this stuff, and I look up and I'm just like, okay, what's she saying to Jalen Hurts? I'm going to give it up. That made my day. Because But then you go on and people are pissed off at her. So like, oh, how could she disrespect him like that? Look, he took it. He was loud. It was funny. It was just a what do you call it? It was one of those moments that it was it was just a fun moment, away from the game. They won a close game. It's kind of, heading into the holidays this week. It was just one of those kind of lighthearted moments. It ain't all hard business football.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a fun kind of lighthearted moment that, kind of was, take some of the levity, give you a little bit of levity in a situation that may be tough.
And now, that's probably going to end up probably on the Grio and some other services that will understand.
Oh, it was already on Twitter. Within 2 seconds.
And now like, tonight I'm going to go watch 6 ABC on my streaming system.
Which one's it?
They have 6 ABC in Philadelphia. They have a program after the news on Sundays, and it's about the football games of the day. So I'm sure it's going to make it onto there as well.
Well, I will say this now. Jalen Hurts did an interview in 2021 where he basically said that Anita Baker, that's the way he relaxed after games, after practice. I mean, he's a huge fan. So,
he'll be at the show.
Oh, he's going to be at the show. Right? Yeah, bring him up on stage. All right, y'all, just a couple of things and we'll wrap. I do want to, and we'll talk about this more next year, but this YSL case, Young Thug, my prediction, it's going to be a big case next year. The interesting thing about it is because, Gunna and the kid Walter Murphy have been released and they pled guilty. People out there.
They cut a deal.
Well, yes and no. We'll find out. Honestly, we'll see how it goes next year. But we don't know where this is heading. It's going to be interesting to see where it's heading because Fonnie Willis is also dealing with this situation with Trump, and Roethlisberger and the whole find me 11,000 votes case. So I just don't know how much time she's going to be able to put into this. So eventually, it's just going to be one of those interesting cases that's going to really take up probably the first half of the year. It's going to be a big case. All right. Also, big thanks. Got to say again, thank you, Vince the Voice Bailey, Makiba Reed Johnson, Karen Renee out there in East Point, so many others who really support the show. I was going to try to read the list of our cities for the year, but it's just been a huge. I mean, the list, people have really been sharing the show, and we're thankful for that. But in terms of the cities have exploded, man. And in a lot of cases, the reach matters. So we appreciate you. But what I will ask you, this is our give us this Christmas gift. The Christmas, if you want to give me a Christmas gift, share the show. Share the show, but also subscribe to the show because whenever we do an episode, upload an episode, you're automatically notified. And you can subscribe however you want to subscribe to the show. You could do it, of course, on our website. You could do it, via our social media. The links are there. All the options, whether it's Spotify, whether it's Apple, all those options to subscribe are there. So whenever we put in a new episode, you're automatically turn your notifications on. Okay, please. Yeah. Please turn your notification on. But if you like what we do, share it, let people know, and we greatly appreciate it. But it's been a great year. The shows. Thank you again. The show is up, for the year, and when we do our episodes on demand, the podcast platform, we just greatly appreciate it. I mean, we just come here. I come here really just to share. This is kind of like what I do. It's my life. So so it's nothing for me to come in here and talk about, pop culture, because I'm a pop culture guy. That's what I love, Tonya B loves the music. That's her thing. I do the TV and the politics and everything else. Any final thoughts before we do the benediction, Tonya B? He sent us the benediction from Jamaica.
Yeah, probably from the club. I just want to say, shout out to people like Harold Michael Harvey and Dicey Griner, who always are there whenever we call on them to come on and share. And again, Dicey, again, we know with the Halloween thing, it's it's entertaining and it's funny. I'm not a horror movie, but just a person. But the way that she just delivers it, it grabs my interest. Gotta say, shout out 500 all day up and through to Rob Redding. He's always been enlightening, uplifting, and he is not to be played with. Nope. So I just and thank Howard and like I said, everybody who listens, my people in Boston, my people in DC, my people in Seattle, all of them. So again, we don't take it lightly because there are a whole lot of other podcasts out there. So we really thank you for rocking with us. And look, we can't leave this year without saying shout out to our number one super fan,
big time,
KW.
Give him some love.
Yeah, give him some love. Yes, God,
definitely, most definitely, KW.
Yeah,
but I will say among the number one show for the year of all the podcasts, which is weird. This is strange. The Nope episode that we did,
really?
Yes, that was like the episode that got shared. Maybe it's because we talked about the movie and people wanted to know what the movie was about, but it was like, that's our number one episode. 2 of the top 10 episodes were On Ye Love, where she came in. Onye came in to do the annual kickoff, which she's going to do again for us next month. Okay. And also her cuffing season was in the top 10.
This is it. It's time to cuff, y'all.
The Fellas, the sports show, top 10. And I'll maybe post the top 10 shows instead of going through the whole thing. But we, really, really and truly, greatly appreciate everything. And let's go ahead and do.
I got one more thing.
Go ahead.
I want to say shout out to you, for always embracing, we lost a lot of musical giants this year, but in July when William Hart of the Delphonics passed away, who was a guest on this show, just the fact that, we were able to pay homage to him, not just on the Byrdwire, but on this podcast too. And, I believe just the legacy of his music still lives on forever. Yeah. So thank you for having him on the show.
Oh, that's well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll just accept it because it was nothing, to definitely have. He's an amazing guy. He was an amazing man.
Still is. Absolutely right. The music is here.
The music is still here. You're absolutely right. Yep. Here we go.
What you watching this week, Tommy?
Oh, not that.
What you watching? You told us what you're watching.
I told you what you're watching.
I need some prayer.
Here we go. All right, let's go ahead and do it.
I didn't come here to preach to you today.
Here's your inspirational moment with Vi.
The story of Christmas is the most important message you could ever receive from God. Christmas is God's message to your heart saying, I love you. He loves you enough that he paid the greatest cost that God could have possibly paid. The Creator became a creature. God became a man. The perfect entered the fallen. God among the ungodly. Mercy in the midst of judgment. As you approach Christmas Day, listen to God's voice in your heart. Reminds you, I love you. John chapter 3, verse 16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. So it says it all, people. Think about it. You as a parent have only one child, and you let that child die to save a perfect stranger. I don't know if I could have done that, so that lets you know how much God loves us. So people, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you so much, Vi, all the way from Jamaica, y'all. Yes, give it up for Vi from Jamaica, y'all. But greatly appreciate it again. Thank you, Millennial Nick. Thank you, Lady J, for definitely keeping us tight on the graphic side. All the folks who work on the show and help us support the show. Definitely Rob Redding, Cowboy Barnes up in Chicago. Tim, thank you so much, brother. Definitely when times when it was needed, he was there. He stepped up. So also thank you, Vi. Appreciate you. And for everybody who listens to the podcast, definitely again share the show. All the episodes online. We'll be back on January 8th. In the meantime, check out the Byrdwire. The Christmas special is coming up on Castropolis.net this weekend. As we take.
And check out Throwback Alley.
Oh, yeah. Throwback Alley is cool. Throwback Alley, we're going to do Throwback Alley, the Throwback Alley marathon up to New Year's Eve. So definitely be checking that out, but definitely appreciate that. So with that, y'all, we out of here. Have a safe and happy Christmas, people. People, you have the power. just remember that. You know, we talk about it all the time, like power to the people, but you have the power. The power is really in your hands, so use it.
Yeah.
So with that, peace, and we are out of here, y'all.
See you next year.
Next year, out of here.
Yes.
You've been listening to the G Podcast with your host, Tommy B. The G Podcast is a production of the Castropolis Podcast Network. Thanks for listening.